right, JT, you are starting round 3 for us. Let's get this thing kicked off.
Yeah, so round 3 here. You took my guy Cedric Baxter earlier. So at this point, I was like, hey, I'm jumping in on the number 2 guy in the freshman class. Huge upside, just stud athlete as far as just talent, speed, everything else. We just saw what Devin Achane did at Texas A&M and where he went in the draft and now where he's going in rookie mock drafts. And that's got me super excited about Ruben Owens and what he can do at Texas A&M. He's my number 2 freshman running back. I like what they're doing talent-wise there. If they can ever figure out the quarterback situation at A&M and get a guy to like just completely ball, I think some of these guys like Stewart and Owens are going to have huge years. I just love his makeup. I love his speed. I love his athleticism. And again, we're seeing the league kind of moving adjusted towards smaller guys. So even though he's not huge, he's got nice size now. I think that translates better to the next level than maybe it did 5 or 10 years ago. So I'm jumping on Ruben Owens.
How do you think that backfield shakes out with him and Le'Veon Moss?
Again, that's a question mark. I would not be surprised if Moss kind of gets considered number 1 on the depth chart and Owens is behind him. But as we've seen in college, it's a lot easier to play 2 RBs consistently in college and have them both produce than it is in the pros. Just so many more plays per game, up tempo, everything they do, especially when you get some of these leagues where it's offense, and a lot of the defenses can't stop. Even if Owens goes in as RB2, I'm still in on him. Devy, I'm in on him, and I actually think he still could produce for UCFF, C2C. I still think he could be a solid producer there. True freshman, you never know how much a true freshman is going to get a run, but even if he doesn't, and say he redshirted or only plays a little bit, I don't think that's going to scare me off going into sophomore year.
I think Moss is going to go in there as a starter when we see the beginning of the season, but I think throughout the season, Ruben Owens may be the guy at the end of the season. If he gets a shot, I just think he's going to take it and run away with it. It's going to be, sorry, Moss, you had your opportunity. I definitely think it's a great duo there that they'll have. And I just think if they have to transition to single instead of running them both, that Ruben Owens will end up taking that by the end of the season.
Yeah, I think what benefits Ruben Owens there is that in the offseason, L.J. Johnson transferred out and went to SMU. So that kind of it depleted their backfield depth a little bit. So I definitely see him and Moss splitting that backfield at least in kind of a 60-40 type of split. I don't necessarily see it being 50-50, but 60-40 kind of on the Moss side.
Yeah, I agree with you.
SC, you have 3-2. Where are you at?
So I was looking at the draft where we're at, and I went. I think it was 4 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, and a tight end before we got to here. And so I skipped on wide receivers, and it wasn't because there weren't on the board. It's just every time I was trying to get wide receivers, like, oh, they'll make it back to me, then y'all took them. But now I come here and I see Troy Franklin, and I'm like, all right, this is someone you have to take a shot on. With him and Bo Nix, I think we're going to have a star season, just to kind of air it out for them, where he's just going to rise the draft boards and possibly be the wide receiver 3, definitely a top 5 wide receiver in this upcoming class, and I'm really excited to get him. But I mean, the depth is there at wide receiver, and we're still talking about talent for these wide receivers, guys that can jump your draft boards and be at the top. I love Troy Franklin's size. I love what he can do. I do want him to get a little bit bulkier, but I definitely think he's going to have a phenomenal season out in Oregon this year.
Yeah. Do you see him continuing to be a return guy also?
Yeah, I mean, well, probably not. I mean, they brought in some guys outside as well, so I think we'll see more on the receiving side for him, and they'll kind of ease him away, just so it saves his energy for him. You'll still see at the beginning of the season. That's just what Oregon likes to do, is get their fast guys back there, and he's quick. But I think we'll definitely see him more on the receiving side than special teams, because this is going to be the year that Oregon's like, all right, we got to make sure all our stars are rested when they're on the field, and we don't need them to be in everywhere like that.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty nasty wide receiver room. Him, and then they brought in Tez Johnson, Jurion Dickey, obviously big 5-star wide receiver coming in. They're going to be pretty dynamic in that room.
Agreed.
Yeah, I thought it was a great pick. I mean, if I didn't take Owens, honestly, I was flipping a coin between Owens and Franklin here. I was like, oh, I like Franklin a lot. Especially if I'm looking at C2C, I'm probably taking Franklin because I know I'm going to get elite production out of him with Bo Nix, and it looks like Nix has finally figured it out. So if I'm going C2C, I'm probably leaning Franklin over Owens just because I feel like I'm going to get more production out of this year. But again, if it's a supplemental draft, Franklin's already off the board, then I'm going Owens first. But I'd love to see Franklin add a little more weight. But again, I'm not scared of that. I love Jordan Addison, coming out this year from USC. And I just think he's a baller. And I think if Franklin does the same thing this year, it's not going to scare me if he's only 175. I think if you put up a little weight, I still think it's all right.
I mean, Devontae Smith came into the league at right around 170. So, I mean, he's proven to be perfectly fine.
That's fair.
All right, I've got back-to-back picks here. At 3-3, I ended up going with Jonte Cook II, wide receiver out of Texas. One of my absolute favorite wide receiver prospects. He participated in spring practice this year. Had a pretty monster catch. I think he had a 79-yard touchdown grab in that game. So he looks like the next big thing there at Texas. Going to continue to grow with Quinn Ewers this year, and then possibly either Malik Murphy or Arch Manning over the next couple. I'm a big fan of Jonte Cook. Is like you guys were saying, kind of slight of frame, has a little bit of room to grow, but I see him being extremely dynamic on the field.
No, I love Cook. I think that's something where he's gonna show. I took Wardy later, but I think Cook can also be that wide receiver one there for that team. He just has it all, and I'm really excited to see what he'll do in Texas this year for them.
Yeah, adding Cook here is what kind of made me lean a little more to Ewers earlier. I just think they're putting all kinds of talent around him, a wide receiver, running back. I just think he's going to have every opportunity to really step it up this year with all these guys around him. I just think they're putting elite talent down there in Texas. And I think the more guys they can add to Worthy, it helps add Worthy to the mix and gives him a little bit more value. And it makes it easier to get him the ball with some of these more talented guys around him.
Well, here's the thing with Cook. I don't necessarily see him being any more than a wide receiver 4 or 5 for them this year either. They got Worthy, they got Mitchell, they got Nayor. Isn't Whittington still there also, or he? I believe he may still be there. Then you also got Jatavian Sanders. So I mean, he's not going to be immediate. He doesn't have to immediately be thrown into the fire. Even though I believe he could be, and thrive. I don't think he's necessarily going to have to be.
Well, and I think this is you're not necessarily picking him to be the guy this year. Right. I mean, they're stacking up freshman talent all over there. I mean, if you're looking at Texas right now, you're looking at any of these guys are drafting, Baxter, him. Texas has got themselves set up for a resurgence here. And so you're expecting these guys in a year or 2 or 3 that this Texas team should be top 5, top 10 at worst, you would think, with the type of talent they're bringing in. And so that's what I'm looking at when I'm seeing some of these guys like, yeah, maybe he's 4th or 5th on the depth chart this year. But, man, this team has got a ton of talent, a ton of other good freshmen, a ton of other good sophomores. This guy could be elite in the next year or 2. That's kind of how I look at it.
Well, they probably brought in the second best wide receiving class next to Ohio State, obviously. They brought in Cook. They brought in Ryan Niblett. They brought in DeAndre Moore. Those guys are studs also. Jonte Cook is just the best of them.
Hey, you look at, I mean, they brought in Arch Manning, and when you bring in the freshman quarterback and freshman wide receiver, it's definitely something to take a gamble on because it's like these are just going to elevate because they're going to grow together. It's not he's learning to play with a new quarterback ranked like that. So if Arch Manning goes in there and balls out, guess who's on the opposite side? More likely it's going to be Jonte Cook there for him.
Yep. My next pick here, I've been heavy with the freshmen. I'll continue to be heavy with the freshmen. I don't care. I love this class. It's tremendous. Wide receiver out of USC, Zachariah Branch. Him and his incoming teammate, Mekhi Lemon, are going to be an outstanding duo for Southern Cal. Zachariah Branch has such a great base to him, such great balance. He's not the biggest guy, but plays with plenty of burst and power. Can break through tackles, can run away from guys, can make moves on them. He's going to be one of the best wide receivers in that 2026 class.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I love the freshman class. So the fact that you're taking a lot of freshmen, I'm like, man, you might have the best team, for the Devy League because you're set up in the future, right? But no, I mean, I love Zachariah Branch, and with a lot of the guys you're taking for this 2026 class, like we said, they're not going to get their shot necessarily out the gate. But man, this class in general, and this is just specific to this 2026 class, it's worth the wait because the talent is there. Just give them what you can, and it's worth the wait because you're going to be loving it, man, in a couple years.
Yeah, I like it with Malachi Nelson, getting all these guys together. This is, double up stack city. You start adding these guys as freshmen, put them on your C2C team. Oh, I love that. If I could stack all these USC guys or all these Texas guys on a team, I'm like, I'll sit around for 2 years and wait on them to blow up. And then my team is just fantastic because I got top guys at every position. So I love it. Lincoln Riley, he's shown he can put up points. He can win. USC gave him, boatloads of money to be there. And when USC is good, people love it. So I think these guys, we've talked about it. I'm investing in USC. I'm investing in Texas. I'm investing in Ohio State. I'm investing in business. I'm investing in these schools that keep bringing in talent on talent on talent. They've shown that they can produce them. They can get them to the NFL. There's no reason to fight it when this is what's working's working. Just go with it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. I agree with that. SC, you're up here, bud.
305, man. I feel this running back's getting forgotten now. It's Clemson's running back, Will Shipley. This class is all about the Raheem Sanders, the Travion Henderson, and even, the Braylon Allens or the Donovan Edwards, even Blake Corum. I feel kind of Will Shipley's getting forgotten here, so I took this more as a value pick at 305 because I think he's going to be in that rotation as one of the top 5 backs coming into this next year, this 2024 draft. So being able to grab him, I think that's great value for there. He's going to continue to produce. He's the running back in Clemson, and I just, if you're getting him in the 3rd round of your Devy drafts, that to me that's a steal just because I think in 2024 he's gonna be one of the top running backs we're talking about when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and I think he has plenty of power. Also, I know a lot of the knock on him is his kind of in between the tackle running. I've seen quite a bit of power come out of him. I know he's not even Clemson's most powerful back, but he has plenty of juice to him. Be able to get through the line, goal line situations. He's perfectly capable. Short yardage, trying to get a first down situation. Moving the chains. He's perfectly capable. The NFL will look at him. He's going to test pretty well. He's not the fastest guy, but I mean he's still going to run a 4.5 40 and be plenty be plenty fast and quick and show the ability to catch balls and run away from guys and make moves. He's not necessarily Christian McCaffrey, but he's that similar type of style of a player.
Right.
I actually like Shipley a lot. My biggest worry is, like you just said, he's not CMC. And my worry is that the NFL is going to want him to be. And if he's not exactly CMC, where NFL team's going to see him? And that's my only worry about him. I think he's got the talent. I love him in C2C, love him in CFF. My biggest worry Devy-wise with him is where's the NFL feel about him? Where do they lock him in at? I think he's got talent. I think he's got power, like you said. My worry is they think they want him to be CMC clone, and he might not be the CMC clone. If he's not, does he drop down draft boards because they don't know what to do with him? That's my only worry with Will Shipley, because I really like the player and I really like him C2C. I think he's going to put up great numbers at Clemson, but the Devy only stock for me is the only thing that's worrisome. And to me, that's why he would drop to like a third round like this in the draft like this.
Well, my closer comp to Will Shipley is probably more like a Dalvin Cook. He can run well. He can catch the ball well. He does everything well. He's just not the most athletic guy. And him being that white running back, they're going to look at him and be like, oh, he's CMC. That's like you said, what happens if he's not and he's more Dalvin Cook? I don't see anything wrong with that, though.
I don't see anything wrong with that either. My worry is, what does the NFL think about that? That again, that's just completely me just throwing it out there. This is nothing I've heard or read or anything like that. But that's my only worry is, if he doesn't hit those elite numbers, is he going to get that CMC comparison? Even if it's not fair, even if that's not really him, even if he is maybe more of a Dalvin Cook type player, our NFL team's going to look him that way. And to me, that's the only reason I think he's slipping a little bit Devy-wise, because I think he's got the talent to be drafted higher.
Dream scenario, he drops, down the rankings or whatever, but then next year the 49ers get him in like the 4th round or something, so he sits behind CMC, learns everything he needs to learn, and then boom, we have everything we were talking about. They're like, this is the guy we need.
SC coming up with a perfect game plan. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, let's not forget, he also has the ability to come back for his senior year, so he may not even come out this year.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't necessarily know that.
And that's why I love him C2C, because say he does come back, and I'm like, bam, I get 2 awesome years of production. I mean, he's going to give you over 1,000 yards. He's going to give you double-digit touchdowns, and I think with Klubnik at quarterback, there's a chance they work him in a little bit more in the passing game like they did with Etienne when he was there. So I mean, C2C, I'm picking him way earlier than I am in a just straight Devy league where I'm looking at just pro prospects only. C2C, I absolutely love this guy.
Yep. You're up there, JT. You got back-to-back picks here.
Okay, so this goes back to a little bit of what we talked about earlier. I'm just, added to it. At 306, I took Arch Manning, QB out of Texas. Like I said, I'm going with the high upside of the talent that Texas is constantly bringing in. And him, they talked about a little QB battle with him and Quinn Ewers. I think Ewers wins that pretty easily. I don't even think they're going to try to play Manning. I think they'd rather not play him this year if they could and redshirt him and get another year behind Ewers, which I actually think that's good. Now he's seeing a guy that was, QB1 coming out of high school. He's seeing what they're expecting out of that guy. I actually think Arch Manning sitting a year is going to be super beneficial for him, sitting behind him, see how that works. But I love the class they brought in around him. So when it's his time to take over at Texas, I mean, when he steps in, he might be the first time he's starting. He could end up stepping in with Cook, Baxter, all these guys already with 1 or 2 years experience standing around him. I mean, he could be stepping into a prime position at Texas in a year or two. So that's why I took Arch Manning here. High upside pick, maybe a little early in 3.6 and C2C or CFF. This is way too early for him probably, because you're not going to see probably much of anything from him this year or maybe next year, depending on what happens. But I like the upside of him. So, and like I said, I love the talent going in around him. And then I had to go with my Devy guy because I just feel like at this point he's going to have a great season this year, college-wise, but he's moved way up my board. I think the NFL is going to like him a lot. I'm jumping in at 3.7. I took Trey Benson, running back out of Florida State. Benson's a guy that's kind of moved up the boards this year. I took him last year in a couple leagues honestly late. I took him in a flyer situation. I liked the talent. He had just transferred to Florida State. I thought it was a pretty open room, so I took him in more CFF C2C leagues because I didn't take him in any Devy leagues at all. But in C2C leagues, I was like, I like the upside of him getting playing time. And I think Florida State's on the way up. So I jumped in on him, and I'm glad I did because, man, he looked great down the stretch. And now the Devy hype is starting for him. So I think, the Devy hype's not as high as it could be yet. So if you're drafting a little bit early in the year, I think you could still get him at a pretty reasonable spot like this. I think you can get a mid-third, maybe early to mid-fourth, depending on what type of league you have. But I just like Benson a lot. He showed a lot. And I think going into this year with the job being his at Florida State, and I think Florida State's going to be so much better, I think we're going to see a lot out of Benson this year. I think we're going to see people really jump on board when it comes to him.
Well, a couple comments on these guys that you had mentioned here. Arch Manning, it's very possible he's their QB3 this year. Malik Murphy going into his second year there in the program. Malik Murphy, super talented also. Has a cannon for an arm, kind of one of those kind of bigger bruising type of runners also. He has a ton of talent. I could actually see him starting over Arch Manning next year once Quinn Ewers moves on. Trey Benson, he has flown up my running back rankings. Prior to last year, I don't even think I had him in my top 50. Now he's in my top 10. And he's steadily rising. He forced Trayshawn Ward to transfer out. Now that running back room is all his. So he is the undeniable guy there at Florida State. So he puts up another big year and then performs well at the combine and pro days and all that in the draft process. I could see him with pretty decent draft capital.
Yeah, I agree. I think Florida State's going to be one of those colleges that we're just going to be talking about a bunch of their players these next couple of years because I think they're growing in some talent and these guys are producing. You're going to talk about your Ohio States, your USCs, but I think Florida State's going to be one of those colleges where it's like, oh, wait, hold on. They have some talent here. We need to be paying attention to what's going on there.
Yeah, I think with a good season, I think Benson could slide into the late second, early third round of NFL draft. I think he could be up there. I think he's I've got him top 5 RB for next year going in the draft. And I think, if he can go with the right team, get somebody to really like him, you get one of those Pete Carrolls who doesn't care how many running backs he has and likes them and wants them anyway. I just think he just feels like that guy that's got the type of body style, the type of running style that will work in the NFL. And I just feel like, if he blows up, maybe he moves up earlier second, maybe late first, if he just has a monster combine. But I feel like it's safe to say that you could probably project him late second to mid to late third round at this point if he plays as well this year as he did last year.
And I'm sorry, I actually misspoke. I have Trey Benson as my RB11. So, close to the top 10.
Right in the mix.
Right there at it. All right, SC, you're up here, buddy. What do you got here at the 3-8?
So I'm going to take the wide receiver from Texas, Xavier Wardy. I do think Jonte Cook, when it's all said and done, will have more value than Wardy. But I think right now for Devy, I'm taking Wardy over him just because he's going to be one of your top wide receivers we're talking about. Someone that I do think I want to see gain a little bit more weight. I feel he's a little bit undersized, but he's explosive. We saw what Zay Flowers did this year, right? Mm-hmm. Going in, I think he's got to kind of run that same kind of track record where it's like he just plays big. He makes the plays. He gains separation. He's fast and quick. And it doesn't matter who's his quarterback. He's going to show out and be one of their top guys this year. Again, with a later pick at the wide receiver, I think this is just a value pick at this point because he's going to be, possibly one of the top guys in the wide receiver room that might go in the first round. If we have that heavy production year from all these wide receivers, you might see 5 or 6 of them go in this first round, or at least within those first 40, 50 picks of the NFL draft. I really like him, and I think, even with the Donnie Mitchell there, I think he's still going to be, one of their top targets and one guy that you're going to be talking about when you're talking about Texas wide receivers.
Absolutely. He kind of fell off last season. So he's kind of slid down draft boards. But looking back on it, he had a broken hand. Mm-hmm. So if people thought he had the case of the drops, that was why. I mean, go out there and try to catch a football with a broken hand and see how well you do.
Right.
I think this year coming back healthy, he's gonna jump back up people's boards. He has the potential to be a late first round, early second round NFL draft pick. He's highly productive. Go back to his freshman year and just look at that. Watch the film on him. He is a great college wide receiver that has the potential to put up big time numbers in the NFL as well.
Agreed.
All right, let's see. I have picked 3, 9, and 3, 10. I'm going back to another freshman, quarterback out of Tennessee, Nico Iamaleava. I've seen him described as a 6'6" version of Bryce Young. Now, tell me, if Bryce Young was 6'6", would anybody have doubted him as the number 1 draft pick in the NFL draft this past year?
No, he'd be the unquestioned more than likely.
Right. So now you look at Nico at 6'6", 200. He's up over 200 pounds now. They're actually wanting him to get 215, 220 by the fall. But he's so fluid. He can scramble outside the pocket, make runs, but he drops everything right in the breadbasket. Uh-huh. He made one throw in the spring game to the freshman tight end Ethan Davis. It was incredible. It was on the run, along the sideline. Nobody could catch the ball but Ethan Davis. It was fantastic, and you could see the potential right there with him. Now he's not going to play this year. Obviously, it's Joe Milton's job, and the only way Nico gets in there is if Joe gets hurt. But there's plenty of buzz on Joe Milton right now too. I don't know if you guys have been seeing it or not. There was a video the other day, threw the ball 82 yards, just
cannon
up and just flung it. It was almost effortless.
I was about to say almost effortless.
Almost effortless. The guy has thrown an orange over 100 yards into the back wall of the practice complex. So, speaking of that video from the other day where he threw the 82-yard pass, he then casually, 6'5", 240 plus pounds, does a backflip. People fell in love with Anthony Richardson last year. They're going to love Joe Milton too. I digress. We're talking about Nico here. Nico is going to be the next guy after Joe Milton in that Josh Heupel offense, and that is just going to be fantastic to watch.
I mean, and you speak about Nico or Milton, whoever you want to talk about there. I mean, we just saw what Hendon Hooker did, and he to me was the Heisman winner before he got hurt. I think he was going to win it hands down. It was his, and then he got hurt. And then, of course, he didn't play the few games there at the end. But, with these guys coming in, Milton and Nico, 2 years ago when Nico was a junior, he was my QB1 of this class. Now I start to see more with Dante Moore, Malachi Nelson. But I'm saying that because he can unquestionably win the QB1 job in this whole draft class. So when it's all said and done, he may be the 101 in the NFL draft. We just don't know. But with that type of offense that they do run there, it does look very easy for him to just have success. He's just someone that, again, one of those fluid guys. He kind of just goes with the wind in a sense, but just looks so effortless. And as you said, right in the basket. They just need to put their arms down. He's like, I got you. I know where your hands are. I got you. And that's what I love about him. And he's tall. He's seeing over the line. He's not someone that needs to jump up or, get up on his high toes or anything like that. He sees over the line. So he's not going to have a trouble, transitioning to the NFL with that size.
Well, he's a pure athlete. He was a big time volleyball player in high school also. Mm-hmm. So, he has that pure athleticism, the ability to move, be explosive. which is very valuable in today's NFL because they like to get those quarterbacks outside the pocket with the ability to make plays, that extend plays, kind of be creative, and he has every bit of that.
Right.
All right, my 310 pick here. I went kind of with a guy who has slid a little bit since last year. Not necessarily his fault. He just didn't get a chance to play because he was behind another stud quarterback, and he'll be behind another quarterback this year. But that's a Devin Brown, quarterback, Ohio State. 2025 guy. You know, I just see him being that next Ohio State guy, which those guys are always valuable. Mm-hmm. And CJ Stroud did such an unbelievable job there that now it's going to be Kyle McCord's job most likely. And then you're looking at Devin Brown the following, next year. But don't give up on him just because he hasn't seen the field. He will get there. It's just one of those programs where he's not needed right away.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, whether it's McCord or Brown, I mean, we're going to see some great things from them. It's probably going to be, McCord going here, but Ohio State, they're giving these guys weapon where failure is not an option. You're not going to, you don't have to be great, but if you're good, you're going to look great in that offense, and I think both those guys have the talent there for it as well.
Oh, yeah. All right, SC, looks like you're up at 311 there, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, McCord was on the list here. I was like, man, all right, Brown's gone. I might take him. I did stack up on quarterback early, so I did go with Kaytron Allen, running back from Penn State. If there's any two running backs I want from the same team, it's the Penn State of Singleton and Kaytron Allen. I just love them both. I had him, last year as a freshman, and it was like, okay, maybe I won't see it. Singleton's got, job to take. But Kaytron went in there and he still produced. He still put up numbers, behind Singleton, who we said earlier is arguably probably the RB1 of his class and might even be your RB1 in Devy's right now, right? So I do like what he's going to do. And if for whatever reason Singleton goes down, Kaytron Allen's going to go in there and just act like nothing happened. You're not even going to be like, oh, Singleton's down, because he's going to go in there and just bruise it himself. So I really like the value there, and I think he's someone, whether it's C2C or Dev, he's going to have good value for you in return, produce at the college level, and then we're going to see day 3, probably, round 4, round 5 running back. But you look at with, Tank Bigsby, Damian Pierce, those type of guys that went there, I think Kaytron could do some similar damage as far as the NFL level when he's all said and done.
Yeah, people don't need to sleep on Kaytron Allen just because he's not the biggest name back in that backfield. Mm-hmm. He is very, very good in his own right. He had over 800 yards as a freshman last year to Singleton's over 1,000. So they run the ball quite a bit there, and they gave Kaytron Allen quite a bit of opportunity, and he took advantage of it.
Agreed. Yeah, I feel like Allen's like a guy you can steal right now. Because again, you're like you said, everybody's on Singleton. People kind of forget about him. He's probably dropping farther than he really should be in leagues, especially in a CFF or C2C, where people think I'm not getting a ton of production out of him because he put up good numbers last year, like you just said. And if something happens to Singleton, he gets an injury, he is gonna ball out huge. I love the value you're getting for him. If he can drop later, he's the guy I'm all over. So he's one of those, like, if I'm sitting in a draft, I'm just kind of eyeing him for round after round. I'm like, how late can I wait before I can jump on him? Because I just think he is such a good value because he's a guy that people kind of forget about sometimes just for the fact that technically he's RB2. I just think he is one of the top values at running back right now.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Yep. All right, JT, go ahead and finish off this 3-round mock here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we just talked about it. I don't know if you want to throw up the third round here and show everybody, but we just talked about it. Like Devin Brown, you grabbed him. I think he's got huge upside. I know, as he just said, he was like, "Oh, I was looking at Devin Brown. I was looking at McCord. I took Allen. I jumped on Kyle McCord. His, he went to high school with Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that gives him a leg up going into this year as possibly being the starter for Ohio State with Devin Brown right behind him. And we know these guys can produce. If I'm on a C2C side or a CFF, I want Kyle McCord. I think he's going to put up crazy numbers. Now, will that transition to him being one of those Ohio State quarterbacks that gets picked high in the NFL draft, or does that make him one of those quarterbacks we saw were great in college and just flamed out and never made it in the pros and got drafted late? I don't know. I'm not sure yet. But in a C2C league, I want him because I think he's going to give me elite production this year at Ohio State, and I think he's going to have a shot, depending on how the testing numbers go and everything else. I think he's going to have a shot to get a real chance in the NFL. Now, does that mean I think he's a top 5 or top 10 pick in the NFL? I don't know. I doubt that unless something crazy happens. But he's a guy I could see going late first, maybe mid-second, even dropping to an early third that has a shot to make it a la like a Russell Wilson type. So I love him, C2C. Devy, I think he's worth a shot. Obviously, I like some of those young, like you guys said, some of those young QBs maybe a little bit better than Devy. But CFF, C2C, McCord's up there for me because I just think the college production you can get with the upside of the NFL is just too much to pass up at the end of the third round.
Yeah.
I've kind of been a little bit lost on Kyle McCord. I know he was a 5-star quarterback coming out of high school. Ohio State's a big time program. He did push C.J. Stroud all the way up to the beginning of 2 seasons ago to see who was going to take that job. Obviously, C.J. Stroud ended up winning it. And then they brought in Devin Brown, and it looks like he's going to hold off Devin Brown. So obviously, he has the tools. He's going to have the big time program backing, the big time wide receiver, big time weapons to throw to. I'm interested to see what type of draft capital he does get. Obviously, that's going to depend on what type of season he has, and how he performs during the draft process. I'm interested to see what he does on field. I know he's got a little bit of mobility. He's got a pretty decent arm. I want to see his decision making on field, how that works, especially with all those weapons, because you have all those weapons. There's no reason to not be effective. I really want to see how he performs with those guys on field.
And I think with Ohio State, we're going to know really early if it's going to be Devin Brown or Kyle McCord. Because if one of them isn't cutting it, they're going to switch it out real early and say, wait, there's no way you have all these weapons and it's not working out. So, I mean, whoever's starting week 1, if they're not happening by week 3, we're going to see a QB change. It's going to happen.
I think it's going to be a pretty short leash, too.
So,
yeah, I agree with you guys on that. Yeah, I mean, McCord, like you said, they're expecting him to put up big numbers, look great early. If he doesn't, with all that talent around him, it's going to be a bad sign real quick.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. I'm going to throw up a list here of guys that we did not put in our 3-round mock here that very easily could have been in that. We could have easily gone 5-6 rounds in this thing, and we may still not have hit everybody we wanted to hit. So I'm going to throw up a list here. I want each of you, I want all 3 of us to kind of pick out a guy or 2 to talk about, just to kind of give people a little bit more info with guys to watch out for. All right, I will start it off here. I'm going to go with Riley Leonard, quarterback out of Duke. he's another guy who could possibly end up in that QB3 range in this next upcoming draft. Picture let's see, names escape me. Daniel Jones. Picture Daniel Jones, but with more mobility. Maybe not quite as strong of an arm, but more mobility, possibly even a little bit better decision maker. Riley Leonard just does not turn the ball over. He has a good enough arm to make all the throws, and is very mobile. And plays for a program that's actually not very good, but he still gets the job done. Riley Leonard is a guy who I believe is going to shoot up NFL draft boards come next April. He's going to test well. He's going to interview well. He's a smart guy, and he's going to very much be in that mix for the QB3 next year. Another guy I kind of want to touch on here. Actually, I got two of them. Same wide receiver room. Jalen McMillan and Rome Odunze. Those two guys could have easily been taken in the third round of this draft we did. I know we get highly enamored with incoming freshmen and their potential, but these guys have a high ceiling also. They're going to be highly drafted. They're going to have nice draft capital in the next year's NFL draft. They're going to put up big numbers this year with a big time quarterback coming back, Michael Penix Jr. Jalen McMillan and Rome Odunze. Keep an eye on those guys. If they're available in any type of supplemental, make sure you go grab them. Those guys will have a pretty decent NFL careers also.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of those. Riley Leonard, I like that comp to Daniel Jones, and there's not a lot of Daniel Jones truthers, so you may be able to get him if that is what he becomes, and he could, get that top 10 season for you. So I love that with it. Romeo did say it was going to be one of mine, but I'll go to the different wide receiver room because we had, we talked about Brandon Ennis and his value there. If you miss out on him, Carnell Tate and Noah Rogers are definitely two wide receivers to go grab at later rounds because they're in that wide receiver room of Ohio State and they're just producing wide receivers like it's candy, from Wonka factory, if you will. They're just getting those guys in there. And so if you don't want to take that high draft value of Brandon Ennis, go after them in your fifth 6 rounds because chances are you'll be able to get them. The running back I'm really loving right now is Alton McCaskill, transferred to Colorado. Coach Prime just completely transitioned that whole team. It's going to be a whole different offense, whole different defense than what we're seeing. And Alton McCaskill is going to be a part of that. He did get hurt last year, so he kind of slipped down some boards. But 2 years ago as a freshman, he produced as one of the ACC top running back out with the Houston Cougars. So I do love what he's going to become, and I'm not sleeping on him, and I hope you don't, because if he's healthy, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in that Pac-12 and that Colorado offense.
I love those picks by both of you guys. I'm hoping McCaskill is awesome at Colorado. My niece just graduated high school. She's going to University of Colorado Boulder. She's pumped about Neon Dion, Coach Prime. I can't wait to go out there and see a game with her. So I gave her, you guys are going to love this, an old Coy Detmer jersey from 1995. I had authentic Colorado number 14. I gave her for her graduation present. She cried. She thought it was amazing. I was like, this is a classic 25-year-old jersey. She loved it. So I was like, take this to school with you freshman year. Your friends won't know what to say about it. A little piece of that. My two guys I'm taking, I'm going a little more C2C CFF here as opposed to Devy. Damian Martinez, Oregon State. He took over that running back room, last half of the season and was an absolute beast. He's got good size. He plays on the West Coast. Oregon State's not Oregon, so people just don't pay attention enough to him. He's a guy that you're going to get for decent value. if you're in a league with people who aren't really paying attention, because he's just not a hot name that everybody talks about and sees. But man, the guy was great down the stretch last year. I loved him coming in as a freshman. I thought he could take over that job. He did. He's a guy, C2C. I think he's going to go up Devy boards here in the future. But right now, if you're in a C2C or CFF league, he's going to produce next year. I love him. My wide receiver I like. Now, he's not the sexiest player on USC, but Dorian Singer is a guy, C2C. I could see him sneakily end up being the number one wideout for Caleb Williams this year. I could see him sneaking up there. He's a guy, I'm not sure what his Devy upside is. I think he could possibly be a second rounder, maybe an early third in the NFL draft if he has a great year this year. But I like Singer in that C2C format where I just think he's going to have a chance with that high-powered USC offense. A lot of young studs on that team, but he's going to have that first look, and I have a feeling that he's a guy that could end up having a huge season.
No, I love Martinez. I mean, again, being from Oregon, I'm watching these Oregon boys, Oregon State boys, and Martinez is definitely so on my radars, and you nailed it I think in the state of Oregon, for your college leagues, he's going to be the best running back that you want to grab in the state of Oregon. He's just a phenomenal athlete, and I love to see what he's going to do in his second year.
Well, let's not sleep on Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving is a pretty dynamic running back too. Damien Martinez is also really, really good. I don't think you could go wrong with either one of those guys in your C2C or CFF league. As far as Devy and NFL potential, I see Damien Martinez as more NFL ready now. Just that kind of NFL that running back body. He's up over 230 pounds. Just gonna pound you up the middle. Another couple guys, we could do this all night. We're nearing 2 hours here, but I don't want to leave this show without talking about you got Mekhi Lemon, Southern Cal, Matthew Golden, Houston, then a couple tight ends, Deuce Robinson, Oscar Delp, Mason Taylor, Jatavian Sanders. You guys, I mean, I'm leaving that list up here for a second, just so everybody is able to see what type of talent is still left on the board after that 3-round draft we did. It's just ridiculous. Jurion Dickey. There's just a crazy amount of talent. So doing a 3-round draft may not quite be enough. So if you're doing a startup, a 5-round draft may be the way to go with the amount of talent that's still left on the board.
Yeah, Tommy, I think we did a 3-round draft because we knew we were going to talk about these guys forever. We love these guys, so that we only did 3 because we're like, man, that's all we could fit into a 2-hour show. But I think this is a perfect time. If you're watching this on YouTube, on your phone or your computer, screenshot or others to watch the list right now. Screenshot that list. Keep that when you're doing a draft because a ton of those guys are great pickups. We didn't even get really into the tight ends because they're just not that high as far as talking about Devy and that stuff. Ton of great players out there. They just don't tend to go as high as the top 3 rounds because you just never know how college teams are going to use tight ends. You never know how those guys are going to hit at the next level, but a ton of talent. But man, that list you got put together right there, QBs, running backs, wide receiver, tight ends, I'm going to have that list up on all my supplemental drafts. Right now, what I'm doing in every league is I'm looking through this list and I'm looking at whatever league I'm in, CFF, C2C, Devy. I'm trying to figure out who hasn't gone. What leagues do these guys fall through the cracks and I can scoop up? Number 1 on my list is probably Bucky Irving. He's one of the guys I looked at most of my leagues across the board. He slid through the cracks last year and he's out there. So he's a guy I am targeting hard going into drafts this year.
Well, I just took over an orphan in one of SC's C2C leagues and pretty bad team. But it won't be for long because there's a lot of these guys who are available in that league that I'm looking to scoop up and make that team into a contender.
Well, I hesitate inviting you because I know knowledge. I was like, somebody invite him. He's about to turn this team from nothing to a championship roster in one season.
That's the goal. Well, all right, guys. Well, I think that's going to do it for tonight. We are now officially at 2 hours. Another great show for everybody out there. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you would hit the like and subscribe, that would do us a great favor. For JT and SC, I'm Tommy Harvey. We will see you guys 2 weeks from tonight. We are going to start doing our conference breakdowns, and we're going to start off with the SEC 2 weeks from tonight. So make sure you tune in, and we will see you guys later.